Oh, I didn't even see that.
So it survived.
When we get to the end of the presentation and she's still going, and I'm going to say she survived. But yeah, there's a few broken joints in the styrene, but nothing too bad. So yeah, I'm mostly pleased. What can I say?
We're live, so we're just going to go ahead and go for it.
Yay!
Ladies and gentlemen, here we go. We're all starting. We're just not going to do the movie because we're running a little late. So you're live and everyone can see you. Go ahead and start.
Wow. Okay. Never done a presentation before, so bear with me here. I'm used to presenting, but this is not my normal media that I present. I'm Malcolm MacKenzie. I'm Maxstang on the forums, and I'm the styrene builder mostly. And Doug asked me to talk a little bit about styrene building and mixed media building because, although I started out as a styrene builder, we have drift. Don't we all have drift when we're building? And it's like, oh, that cool shiny object over there, and then we try and integrate that object. And so I don't have my regular droid with me. My regular droid R5. Let's see if I can get this thing to do what I'm supposed to. R5, yeah, R5 ST based on the Star Tours ride and at Disneyland. That's my main droid. He was originally completely styrene based on, vaguely based on Frank Purr's design for the styrene files, but highly modified so that he does 232. And because we started out with just plain old electromechanical where, the center leg went down and flipped the switch and that let the shoulder legs go. But eventually I switched over to logic control. And because I did that, he has all sorts of animations that he can do moving his joints and basically trying to convey emotion. Because as you know, with an R series droid, it's not like B2 over there has got all these different things that they can do. We can't tilt our heads and stuff. So anything that can try and convey emotion is terrific. The reason why I think this is important is I built the droid and enjoyed it, and then I took it to a hospital for a hospital visit. We have 5 hospitals in the Sacramento area, children's hospitals, I should say. I went to a hospital visit with R2D2 at that time, actually, and turned a bunch of kids' most difficult day. It happened to be the infusion center where they're all getting their cancer drugs, where this is the day they don't want to be there. And suddenly it was a day that they met R2D2. And it completely changed the entire focus of my build. It wasn't just for fun, it was to make fun. And the more I could get the droid interactive with kids, the more fun everybody had, and it gave me something to focus on and stuff. So this droid up there has, everything from when he's R2D2, he can deliver cards like a lot of us do now, which is terrific. But he's got bubbles and can wiggle his body and wave his hands, and his panels open the wrong way just because it's funny, and they're like eyebrows. And so there's all these different things that you can do. That being said, over the years, he's now the only fully styrene portion of him is the head. The skins are aluminum. The legs have aluminum, an aluminum core in them because of weight. So he's now ballooned to the lovely weight of 155 pounds, which for me, getting it in and out of the car is difficult. So it's getting tough. And also I could never have brought him here because there's just no way to no way to fly with a droid that's this big. So that led to Didi. So I wanted a droid that was lighter weight. I wanted a droid that had reduced power requirements because of that, and I wanted a droid that I could build at home. I've been doing a lot of the SendCutSend thing, but I really wanted to try and do as much at home. I do have a CNC at home, and I cut almost everything on the old droid by hand, except for some of the aluminum parts. So I wanted to reduce the cost, and I wanted to have more animations and have it be able to do more things. So that led to this. I was thinking about it for quite a while before I started. I was flipping through the forums at one point, and Duncan, he's Duncan JB on the forums. He really is a genius. His wife is a sculptress, and she is a digital sculptress all in horses. She does horses in these amazing action poses. It's incredible. And he does all of the casting and molding for her art objects that she then sells, right? And so he knows all about materials and metals, plastics, whatever. And he was building a droid. And he decided that he wasn't happy with the way that styrene skins looked when they were wrapped around a frame, because you get the inevitable bowing and it's very difficult to surface smooth. So knowing what he knew about styrene, he decided that he was going to heat bend his styrene skins. This happens to be my bender, but it's basically a copy of his bender. And you put the styrene into the bender, you put the whole thing into a oven, get it up to 100 degrees Celsius, let it wait for about 20 minutes, take it out, and it has formed itself. There's my oven, there's the bender, into the shape that the bender had it in before. So you can take a set of styrene skins and have them curved and not have any kind of issues with bowing or whatever. So I saw that and I said, hey, Duncan, do you think you could do that with a 1/8 inch skin? One of the, like an etch skin that you can, I guess, the guys who are making the Tex-Mex skins, right, are 0.8, right, which is 2 times the skin thickness. But I wanted to go even thicker and say, could I do that and then eliminate most of the inner frame of the droid to make it lighter? So that's what we did. He made one for me and he sent it. It's just a prototype. It's you know, it's not a big deal. I got these things and I'm like, oh my God, I'm making a droid out of this right now. And then pandemic, so I didn't do it at that point. But I always had it in my head that I was going to create a frame specifically for that. So that led to Didi, and she is purpose-built for hospitals, wanted to have more animations, and that meant that the previous 323 mech that I developed for R5 was actually basically created by an Australian builder named Andrew Pierce. He's a great guy. His astromech name is Dwarf. And he had created a super fast film accurate where you eject the center leg and then land on it, and it was really cool. I just had to have that. So the previous droid is like that. I later added, because I had changed over to logic control where the leg can be dropped and do the splits, and that's what it does almost all the time now, especially at 155 pounds. When it comes down on that front leg, it comes down on that front leg. So he had put it out there that it could be done. And I didn't have his plans or anything, but I was able to basically emulate what it was. But that center drop mechanism only did that speedy thing. And so it removed the ability to be able to do anything with the center leg once it was deployed versus when it's pulled back. So I had to come up with something completely different. So in addition to that, I wanted her to be lighter weight, obviously, although she's not as lightweight as I wish she was. We're working on that. Have a custom voice. My R5 unit has a completely custom voice, which is just for fun, because it's very low voice, so it doesn't sound like R2-D2. She's going to have, I guess, a higher voice. Voice is still coming. 3D printed greeblies. I finally moved over into the 3D printed world. My friend he used to print all my 3D stuff because he's got a great printer, but I finally have one, so I'm actually printing my own stuff now. More toys and a new control system, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute here. I also wanted to have her. I've been inspired by everybody who's got these cool weathered droids. I made my first droid as like a new droid off factory, and then kind of figured I could get it dirty later. Well, it's got 7 years of dings, bends, scratches, whatever. So it's nice and weathered now. But I wanted Didi to be weathered right off the bat. And I wanted it to be cheap because I'm a musician and things need to be cheap. Otherwise, and I know that saying the droid building at all could be cheap at all is ridiculous, because it's like a vortex. It sucks us in and it makes us spend more money, right? But I really wanted to try and have it be as inexpensive as possible if anybody else wanted to do something like this. So anyway, because of his incredibly amazing skins and all, I would encourage you guys to come up, and I would love to say that I made these. I did not. I love them. They're dimensionally accurate. They're perfectly flat when you put the ruler up against it. I could make a frame that all it's got is basically shoulder mounts and verticals. That's it. Because the 232 system handles most of the structural element between the center foot and the shoulders. So all it's doing is supporting the skins and any plastic greeblies or whatever that are on the outside. Speakers, I guess it's got the speakers in there, but they're only a few pounds a piece. So it's not supporting anything at all. So All of the interior boxes, which unfortunately I'm not done with, sorry about that, are 3D printed. They'll all have doors that are styrene heat vent doors, so they'll be very lightweight. And a new control system. Anybody who's talked to me for more than 5 minutes knows that I've got a problem with RC systems, and that is that I learned to drive RC cars way back in the 70s when they were sticks. None of this stuff, right? And so I got a right hand that drives really well, and I can drive away from me, and I can drive back, and I have no problem figuring out what direction it is, and my left hand has absolutely no idea what to freaking do. So when I try and use the stealth controllers, which not stealth, the Shadow MD controllers that I know with the PS3 controllers, I have it all in one. I've hacked my system so that I have 30 different presets on one controller, and the dome is on the trigger, and because my left hand is too stupid to do anything except take photos or trigger sounds when I am puppeteering the droid. So I really want an RC system that has 3 analog axes on one small controller, and then some buttons and iBus or S-Bus. That would be really cool. That's what I want. But until then, we got to figure out what it is that we're doing. So I'm currently messing with this app, which is called RemoteXY. It's a home automation app. If anybody of you messed with it, it's really cool in that you can design your control panel so that it appears on your phone. And the way that it gets the appearance of the control panel is from the ESP32 or whatever microcontroller you're running it on. It's in the setup file. So you go to their website, you organize the buttons the way that you want them so that you can hit smirk, for instance, and then it'll send a serial signal to whatever it is that you're doing to accomplish whatever it is. So I'm using it for the 232 motion and basically all the automation that the droid does. So what's nice about it is, and I should have took pictures of all of it. So I've got one page, it's a 232 that I hopefully don't trigger it while I'm driving her around. You think that I've done that before. I've got a volume page that has things like that I would hardly ever use. It's mostly blank now, but it's got volume, and it's also got things like if I'm controlling the PSI Pros or whatever that are in the front, then it's not something that I would do all the time. Or if we're playing red light, did I get a red light? Yay! If I'm playing red light, green light at the hospital with the children in the wheelchair races, then I can actually do that and have it right there, you know. So anyway, so still totally in test mode here, but it seems to be pretty reliable. It is Wi-Fi. It's connected via Wi-Fi, not Bluetooth, so it's got better range than any of my Bluetooth controllers. There are still some issues. I mean, if you let your screen unlock, it disconnects. It doesn't keep connected in the background. At least I haven't been able to figure out how to do that yet. So I have my screen on all the time, which is not such a big deal. But it does give you the ability, really, thank you, I appreciate that, to, you know, have your sounds right at your fingertips or your animations right at your fingertips while you're driving with the other hand. Okay, be quiet. Thank you. Anyway, where was I here? I've totally lost where I was. So the other thing that happened with this droid is I made a science experiment which he saw at R2LA, of all the electrical connections to try and get all this to work, because it's totally different than my other droid. And also the motor controllers that I'm using, these super cheap BTS motor controllers that I've been using, they have screw terminals on them, and wiring and screw terminals in me, I really don't like that. So I designed a PCB that contains all of the motor controllers so that there's no wiring at all. So we went from, there we go. Went from the mess with the wiring, and you can't see the wiring for the motor controllers because it's inside the box on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand, that's what the PCB is, so that it's all contained in one little tiny sandwich. And on the right-hand side, the only thing that this droid currently has is a siren, an amplifier, a Romadome, which I don't have working yet, and a DF player and a fuse box. That's the only thing that it has besides the 232 board. And that will run everything that it's planned to have. There isn't anything else that I'm planning to add that can't be run from that. So I made it to have like a remote power supply for a periscope or something like that, but it makes it all in one place and no wiring, right? All right, so where am I? Oh, I pressed the wrong button. There we go. So where we are now, she's pretty much working mostly. Ask me that later today. We'll see. I took her out of the airplane shipping containers and put her together, and only a few things have broken, and she's so far working. But I've got the greeblies to do. She's going to have the grabber arms and the CPU arm like the other droid as well. Whoops. And of course finishing and whatever. But the whole idea with her was to try and keep. Kevin was saying KISS, right? Because when you get too many things, it starts to snowball, and the more chances of things going wrong. So the whole point with her is to have her as reliable as possible, because she's working in a hospital environment most of the time where I don't want to have things break down or act weird. You know, I can't do smoke or anything like that. But to have her still be as capable as possible. And so hopefully we'll see if she's going to be capable. So for example, I actually have her dome rotation is also on the app right now, which is kind of fun. Because the RC that I'm using is one of these lame little two-channel ones, so that's all I've got available on that. But so I've got control of all of the Markduino stuff. She's still running Markduinos to run most of the panel animations, and I'll continue with the body animations as well. Unfortunately, her utility arms did not survive the plane flight. That's one of the things that broke, so I can't show you that. Sorry about that. They did work before. Whoops, we just did that. What I meant was this one. There we go. So when she waves to children, then she can do that. Yeah. I'm breathing on mine. But what's, yeah. So because I can co-op the 232 motors that are in her ankles and that are being used for 232 for other animations as well. So she can laugh, right? Yeah. And she can lean specifically like my other droid. She can lean forward to interact with children who are in a hospital bed, so she can actually see them a little bit better. She leans forward. That's also useful if we're in carpet, because then the back wheels are completely off the ground and all of a sudden no drag. So let's see. Let's go back down there. What else we did the wiggle already, didn't we? Yeah, we did. And then one of our other new features is that so she can talk to the little kid, she can actually, oh, you're not going to do that one. Oh, no, there we go. She can actually lean all the way down. And she can lean all the way down so that her body is essentially touching the ground, as Kevin was saying. They will actually balance like that. So she can actually get all the way down. So I was afraid of breaking anything. So anyway. Yeah, there you go. I've obviously got sounds associated with those as well. Those were actually test sounds because I wanted to make sure that the commands were getting through, because sometimes things didn't happen. One of the things I learned about that's not something you want to see on video. Yeah. No, it's good. Thank you. Yes, yeah. So one of the things that I've done PCBs. Obviously, I did the PSI Pros. So I've done PCB design before, but I've never done anything like the one that I did here. And man, there were a lot of mistakes when those boards first arrived. I was trying to get it to yeah, there's a lot of soldering going on in the back of that board to make this work the way it is. But I'm convinced that that's a legitimate way forward for people who have complicated wiring. Also the use of JST connectors versus the regular DuPont connectors, because I don't know how many of you have had the experience where you go over a bump and something unplugs itself, and then all of a sudden, in this case, the 232 doesn't work, and I can't get the droid back into the car because it only works in 2-leg mode, right? So I think that's one of the major discoveries for me, at least, about this, is that taking your group of whatever it is that you've got right here, all plugged in individually, and turning them into a single PCB where you can actually plug them into it and easily pull them out, replace it with another one, but the wiring is intact and you don't have to mess with it at all. And then hopefully you can change your code if you make wiring errors like I did with this one. So anyway, that's pretty much covering it. She's about halfway done now. I'm hoping to have her done later in the year, this year. If anybody has ideas for other animations that could be useful, be funny, interesting. I mean, she gets sad, and then she stands back up again. You know, anything like that, be really interested to hear, because I'm trying to generate new code to make her do different things. Right now we have just the basics plus a few new things that the other one couldn't do. So, but I'm working to try and add new functions all the time. So, I also got to say just how embracing the droid community has been. And when I started building my dome in 2016, and everybody was super encouraging and motivated me to continue to do. I'm a great starter of projects, and I'm not really a good finisher of projects. And I have to credit the droid building community with the finishing of my first droid or anything else that I've ever finished on that droid, just because I really appreciate you all and the motivation that I get from watching you guys do your builds, and also thank to Doug for inviting me to do this. Actually try and fly across the country with an R unit. I didn't know that was possible, but I found out you could heat bend styrene into custom shipping containers that will take your droid. So that's something else I'll make a post about eventually. So anyway,
apparently everyone wants to know how you got that in. We didn't get the unpacking like we were supposed to online, so.
Yeah, there was some stress involved with the unpacking. So yeah, I wanted to. So when she came off of when the main body section came off of the luggage conveyor and it dropped down onto the big silver doodah that goes over the conveyor belt, she bounced right out. And some didn't boing, boing, boing. Passerbys are running after my droid body trying to retrieve it. And I'm like, so the idea that she's actually doing anything at all is making me very happy. So hopefully all that wiring contained in the PCB didn't pull out when that was during the flight. So anyway, that's all. I hope that was interesting.
Anybody else have any questions? Oh, we got one right here. Hang on.
No. I'm sure that there's like 100 people here that are going to ask the same thing, so I figured I'd ask you now, and you can do it once. But could you spend a little bit more time going over how your 232 mechanism works?
Oh yeah, I figured that. I'm sorry, there's so much in the log that I didn't want to be repetitive and stuff. Basically, what we've got window motors, automotive window motors, that are running. I've got one in each ankle, one in the shoulder. Even on the 150-pound droid, it has no problem moving the legs at speed, and then one on the drop mechanism that is using a gear, a vertical gear that it runs up and down on. The old mechanism used a swing arm, which is very ingenious. Andrew's designed for that because it's so fast. It just goes around full speed, and yours has the similar thing, right? It's incredibly fast, but you can't stop it halfway. It doesn't have the motor does not have enough leverage to be able to handle that. So that's why the slower, but now controlled. And future plans, I have put a encoder on one of those motors, so it can be done. I'd like to be able to specifically find specific spots as opposed to just using limits, which is where I am right now. But that's one thing to be added later. But these motors are strong enough that they will break your legs. They will actually exit the leg with the gear on it if you don't tell it what to do carefully. I've never had one break, and I've done terrible things with the droid. Yeah, no, I mean, I haven't had they're a worm gear, right? And even though the main gear is nylon, I've never had one of them break, which is surprising to me because the center leg takes a lot of shock when you're driving around. So I'll be interested to see with this one because it's arranged slightly differently and it doesn't have locks at the bottom. So it's quite possible that one of these days I'll go over a bump and she'll go, oh, and she's going to kneel, in an uncontrolled fashion, but not yet. So we'll see. Does that help a little bit? Each individual motor is run by a separate motor controller, and then I'm just sending them PWM. It's nice and easy with limit switches limiting where they stop. The actual wiring is very simple. I'll pull it open. You guys can all take a look. I've got a problem with messy wiring, and so there's very little to be seen because it's all inside jacketed, shielded wire. So, but it does, and still using aerospace connectors because I like them, but I'm thinking about the bigger JST connectors because I like them. For the ankles, yeah. So it's a single motor in each ankle, and it's got a portion of a gear. So if you think of the gear as a circle, it's using just 6 or 8 teeth of the gear on a lever, which then goes down to. And this is hard to imagine if you can't see it in front of you. I really should have brought some examples, but I was almost over limit as it was. The gear is affixed to the foot at an angle, just half of the distance we need to go. So as the gear, the motor in the leg rotates its gear, it's going this way, it's walking along this little bit of gear that's sticking out at an angle. So just up to vertical and then just down. Although the other droid actually will go back a little bit, like Kevin's will, where it can actually look up. I did not do that on this one because anytime you don't have a positive stop on any kind of system like this, you have slop can enter into the system. So lash in the gears. So it just walks along that, and the foot stays seemingly in the same place, but because the droid is bigger, the foot actually ends up angling, right? So, and in the shoulder, it's quite literally just a portion of a gear. It looks like a hand like this, and the motor is like this, and it only has to turn this little bit because we're only moving a little, 36 degrees, right? So as a result, it's pretty simple as far as you don't need any actuators, you don't need linear actuators, you don't need if you want to do it on the simple and on the cheap, as I'm saying, it can be done. There is no dynamic balance in this one, so if I'm on the wrong page, if she hits a bump, if she's going to 2-leg, or catches anything, it is possible to have her fall. Many of you have probably seen when my R5 face planted at, what was it? When I conned to San Jose, right at the end of the day, I'm closing up, bam, limit switch had got caught. So thought that the leg was down and it wasn't down. Boom, right on her face. So they do fall. If you're going to do 232, they're going to fall. One of the nice things about a plastic droid like this is this could fall and it would be fine. You pick it back up again. If you might break your things that stick out, but it can fall. It's not that big a deal. But there is no dynamic balancing. You don't have to worry about that. It doesn't need it. Anyone?
Anyone else? Hey.
Sorry, you're right next to each other. Yeah.
Just pass the mic back.
There we go.
So you said you bring us into the hospital there. Now, at some hospitals, they require a grounding strap because of the plastic for static electricity buildup. Do you have to implement that on yours?
Nobody's asked for that for us. I haven't run into that. There is a thing with static buildup. If you've ever been at a con with carpeting like this, I had a lot of trouble in the aluminum styrene droid because there's enough metal that happens. I don't know with this one because it's almost completely styrene. I'd be interested to see if it builds up a significant amount. But I've not had that happen. So, and nobody's told us that we couldn't. So,
I work at a hospital. That's
yeah.
Another thing that our biomed team, everything that comes in, has to get checked for.
Yeah. Where do they want you to ground it to?
We have just basically these little chains.
They're dragging along.
Dragging on the
Yeah.
floor, so
Yeah. Haven't had to do that, but that's a great idea to have available. To have a drag rod that under the foot. That's all you need.
Probably, no, anywhere in the hospital.
That's an interesting thing, a requirement that they have.
That's what we have on our computer on wheels and stuff like that.
They all have it too. Yeah.
And even some of the vacuums that they have, like,
Yeah. Oh, that's a new thing to know.
So you said that this one weighs less than your other one, but you didn't say how much it actually does weigh.
Yeah. So I was the goal weight on this droid is 75 pounds. I've already blown that out of the water. I didn't realize it. I went to R2LA and Mike hung her up on his. He's got a scale, and she's already at 81. So I'm going to have to figure out. So at first, she was going to be called R2SP for spare parts because this poor droid, she has got the old legs from my old droid. She's got the old feet from my old droid. The old battery boxes. So all that upgrading ended up on this droid. But what that means is that some of those parts were not optimized for weight. So the frame has been optimized for weight as much as possible. I will need to go through, obviously I didn't think I would, but I will need to go through the legs now. I'm little things like the detail plates on the shoulders are aluminum on this droid. They clearly, I could lose half a pound by taking them off, you know. So I'm trying to keep her now. I guess I'm going to have to say that my new weight is 80 pounds, but we'll see. I would like to get her down to about 75 because it's really nice to have a droid you can pick up. You know, I can't pick up the other droid at all. Yeah, and if something goes wrong, then you're really, you know, you better have a handler with you. And I really want something that I can pick up and put it in the back of the car if I don't have it on the sled or whatever. Also, momentum. We're inside hospitals, very tight a lot of the time. And, you know, the lighter the droid, the less momentum it's carrying with it. So if you bump into the bed or you bump in the IV tree, you know, don't want to do that. So, anyone else?
Yeah, anyone else?
Don't be
have a
shy.
question? All the way in the back, anybody? Nope. Anybody?
Just curious if the 323 is in your build log.
Yeah, I think
I'm
it's
really curious
It's a
about
kind of a
that.
combo. Didi has her own build log, but it's not up to date anymore. I've got to do that. That's next week. I was trying to get this ready for this, but the other droid does have a pretty extensive because went through a lot of development. What worked and what didn't work, and like I say, it was electromechanical at first, and then I switched it over and accidentally discovered that I could, you know, have him do fun things in additional. I mean, 232 is cool. We all think it's cool. We all think it's great. The general public doesn't care. They really don't. But what they do care about is that she can show that she's happy, you know, or that she, you know, can. It's interesting that come down and talk to the kid. You know, that's the kind of stuff that I think is super interesting. And the 232 is just a byproduct that makes it really easy to load into the car. Right? That's the best thing about 232 is being able to load your droid in 2-leg mode. So, oh, that works now. Okay, I had a separate button for going back up again, but now, anyway. Yeah. Anyone?
Anyone else?
Cool.
All right, let's give him a big round of applause, guys.
Thanks for letting me come, guys.
Thank you very much.
Oh yeah, sure. Isn't there another presentation, or do we have time to do it?